Slavery is an evil practice abolished all over the world over 200 years ago. But today, human traffickers are selling human beings as slaves in Africa. It is your responsibility to make sure that you and the people you know do not fall into slavery. Don't believe fake promises of jobs abroad.
People went to say Libya, Italy no use you when they carry me on top water. 4 days now they lock me for inside house, no food, no water. I nearly die. Now God, when me heaven and earth, now save me. If you get 1 naira for Nigeria, you get junior one, you say you no get papa, you no get mama, that make you come out. I beg go they do farm work. You better pass person when enter road.
Don't accept to travel to Europe through the Sahara Desert. You may be walking into slavery. Don't be a slave.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter.
President Buhari directs Central Bank of Nigeria to stop issuing foreign exchange to saboteurs of nation's food security program.
We hardly import any rice, and I definitely told the governor of Central Bank we shouldn't give assent to anybody importing food.
Speaker House of Representatives urges Nigerians to respect constituted authorities.
Religion is a leveler. There is no high, there is no mighty. We're all one before the eyes of God.
Hope for improved power supply as Chinese expert inspects Mambila hydropower plant in Taraba State.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss impeachment of deputy governors.
Since Nigeria's return to the democratic rule, the nation's political leadership continues to evolve over the years.
However, the democratic governance has witnessed and continue to experience impeachments at both legislative and executive arms of government.
But what seems to be worrisome to many key players during the 20 years of our democratic rule is the state, at least from 1999 to date, the spate of impeachment of deputy governors.
And it ranges from Ondo State to Adamawa to Enugu to Imo to mention, and that's just to mention a few. The deputy governors were removed within a short time by the respective houses of assembly.
You're right, Rhoda. We also witnessed few deputy governors who resigned from office to avoid impeachment, as the case may be.
And another impeachment is in the offing as the Kogi State House of Assembly had served such notice on the Deputy Governor, Prince Simon Achuba. And that was a week ago, and that was for alleged gross misconduct.
According to the notice of impeachment, the embattled deputy governor has 1 more week, like you've already pointed out, within which to respond to these allegations or face the consequences.
Well, Section 118 of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, 188 of the Constitution, as amended, provides for the procedure for the removal of deputy governor. But observers are concerned about the speed with which a legislative arm endorses removal of the occupant of such office, in most cases without adherence to the laid-down procedure.
Now, from experiences, Rhoda, the deputy governors, in most cases, that is for those who are not impeached for breaching any rule, but for actually falling out with their governors, that's the principle most times. So it's as if, okay, once you're not in tune or once you're not in consonance with your governor, the next thing is to use the state assemblies to actually move you out.
You're absolutely right, Blessing. After all, most of the deputy governors are seen to be idle. Perhaps that makes people refer to them as spare tires, you know. And as the Constitution did not spell out specific functions for them, it seems that that's what it really is.
Well, for some, there are also cases of intimidation. Sometimes some of the deputy governors are actually very proactive. They are more... For the people actually coming on such ticket, it's as if, okay, it is because of the strength and capacity of this deputy that made sure that the governors actually got a ticket. But somehow the intimidation from this kind of CVs presented gives some kind of rattling in the setup for those governors.
Well, a lot of times it happens when you have a deputy governor that is very, very active and, you know, seems to be up and doing. You know, there seems, you know, the governor seems intimidated. But most of the impeachment that we've seen truly, you know, Blessing, is instances where, just as you mentioned earlier, they fell out with their principal, which is their governor. So the question should be, should these serve as a yardstick for the governors to impeach occupants of such offices at will, which constitution gross misconduct as contained in the Constitution? Who should determine gross misconduct to warrant impeachment? And that's our focus on Good Morning Nigeria today. We thank you for joining us. It's the midweek edition. We're live on Africa's largest television network, the NTA. I'm Rhoda Anonam, and Blessing, the holidays are over.
For those who are actually on holidays, who are here working.
No, like, I'm happy, and I said to myself today, am I happy because other people are coming back to join us?
I guess that's it. Anyway, my name is Blessing Abu. I join Rhoda to welcome you to today's edition of the program. We'll also serve you a complimentary part of the program. We'll bring to you a newspaper review. We'll take a look at business, sports, as well as entertainment news. And here's the morning news with Musbah Dan Wahab. I know for sure your ram did not escape to anywhere, so we're getting the full dose of the ram meat. Good morning to you.
I have a bone to crack with Musbah.
You can be rest assured that my ram is safe, and just wait for it. You get it. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning News on Good Morning Nigeria. The Central Bank of Nigeria has been directed to desist from issuing foreign exchange to individuals or groups identified to be sabotaging the nation's food security program through the importation of rice and other food items into the country. President Muhammadu Buhari gave a directive while receiving members of Progressives Governors Forum on Salah homage. He also ordered more drastic measures against smuggling activities.
Hardly import any rice, and I definitely told the governor of Central Bank he shouldn't give assent to anybody importing food.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari says the best Salah gift he would like to receive from any public servants is a resolve to discharge assigned responsibilities diligently with a sense of patriotism and conscience towards ensuring that the next level agenda bequeaths worthy legacies for posterity. The president stated this while receiving various government officials and other interest groups on traditional Salah homage in Daura, Katsina State. He promised to remain steadfast in fighting for the poor.
Assembly, most especially the Senate, that we're ready to provide the enabling environment for the content of the next level agenda to be implemented.
As his foot soldiers and lieutenants in the various offices, we will continue to do our best to ensure that we create an enabling environment for him to be able to deliver on the dividends of democracy he has promised the people of this country.
And as pilgrims conclude the last stages of the annual Hajj rite, Speaker House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila has urged them to imbibe the lessons of the holy pilgrimage, which is total submission to the will of Almighty Allah. He also called on all Nigerians to respect constituted authorities for the country to attain set targets. The Speaker, alongside some members of the House of Representatives on pilgrimage in Mecca, offered prayers for Nigeria.
We all have our issues, no matter what part of the world you are. That's what life is all about. We have issues, but prayers will surmount everything.
Back home, Sultan of Sokoto, Mohammed Saad Abubakar, has called on politicians to separate politics from governance and supports government for sustainable development. The Sultan was speaking when he led his council members and other traditional rulers in the state on Salah homage to Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal at the Government House in Sokoto. There are high hopes for commencement of works on the Mambila hydropower plant in Gembu, Taraba State, following a visit of Chinese experts to the state. The team also met the Governor Darius Dixon Ishaku to intimate him on their mission.
We plan to go to the Mambila site. We hope can get from Your Excellency and the Taraba people, Taraba government support.
The national chairman of All Progressives Congress and former governor of Edo State, Adams Oshiomhole, and his successor, Governor Godwin Obaseki, say there is no infighting between them. The surveys in an interview with newsmen after a closed-door meeting at Iyamo, the country home of the APC national chairman.
The former national chairman in Benin, and we decided to come here and also visit with him. So there's nothing unusual. We're celebrating our leaders.
What is unusual that my brother and I have met, and many people I work with, there is no new face here. And yet for you it's unusual.
A bit of security matters. The Nigerian army has put into use the newly acquired mines resistance anti-ambush protected vehicles in Maiduguri, Borno State. The ceremony was carried out by the representative of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Brate.
MRAP vehicles offer increased firepower, enhanced force protection against small arms, as well as improves lift capability.
And thus the news beats of Good Morning Nigeria this morning. Join us for more subsequently in the course of the day. So why are deputy governors losing their seats? Wait for that topic for discussion with Rhoda and Blessing after this break.
There's a smarter way to live with Airtel Binge Plan, the ideal data plan for those heavy data moments. Get a 2 GB daily binge plan for 500 Naira. Dial *141# to activate. Live smarter with data.
Airtel, the smartphone network. Protocol and event management are special skills which can only be acquired through training and experience.
NTA TV College JOS is organizing a special 2-week course on protocol, event management, and public relations to upgrade the capacities of practitioners. The course will equip participants with modern skills, techniques, and international best practices in protocol, event management, and public relations. Also, a special 4-week intensive course on non-linear editing techniques will run concurrently. The course will expose participants to modern techniques and technologies of non-linear editing. Take advantage of this course to hone your professional skills for premium packaging of your programs and reports. The venue for both courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA Television College, near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos, Plateau State. Date 19th to 30th August 2019 for the course on protocol, event management, and public relations. 19th August to 13th September 2019 for basic non-linear editing techniques. Course fee 100,000 naira only per participant. Accommodation inclusive. For more information, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College JOS, training you to be the best you want to be.
To the outer framers, the hat tippers, the turtleneckers, the fringe growers, you don't need to hide anymore. Try Dettol Even Tone. It cleans and helps to reduce the appearance of blemishes caused by oil, dirt, and germs, giving your skin a healthy feel for an even better you. Dettol, be 100% sure.
You're welcome back, and if you've just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the NTA. It's the midweek edition. Now let's bring you up to date in the world of business, as the Central Bank of Nigeria says it is poised to fund projects and activities that will move the economy towards green growth. Let's get more details from our business news correspondent, Comfort Amadu.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, in its continuous efforts to boost investment in the country, is developing financial tools that will align both the banking and non-banking system towards the green economy drive through its sustainable finance roadmap. This is targeted at ensuring that banking sector mainstream environmental and social aspects into their business operations, practices, and activities to mobilize adequate resources for the development of the nation's economy.
Considering the fact that enormous investment is required to transition the economy towards green growth and then a low carbon trajectory, it is aligning the financial system to ensure that we allocate resources that will allow the country move towards green growth.
Nigeria is now an active participant in any discussion on green growth matters because we have ratified.
In the meantime, the Central Bank of Nigeria has cautioned banks from compelling borrowers to patronize specific underwriting companies to buy insurance covers that are mandatory to access certain loans. The Apex Bank mandates all commercial banks not to compel its consumers to purchase products or services such as valuation service from a specific provider as a precondition for grant of a credit or loan facility. Meanwhile, the National Insurance Commission says insurance firms have lost businesses worth $115.74 million to foreigners following inadequate financial and technical capacity. The Commission says business deals including 11 multinationals and local firms abroad holding $45 million were seeded. With business news, I'm Comfort Amadu.
Thank you very much, Comfort Amadu, for that business package. Up next for us on Good Morning Nigeria is the newspaper review.
As always, to give more depth to our review is our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoibi. Bayo, good morning.
Good morning, ladies.
So
I'm
just seeing you for, okay, this is my first for the weekend, so happy Salah.
Thank you very much.
Happy Eid al-Kabir.
Thank you very much.
I hope you had a wonderful celebration.
Yes, I did.
Only that I didn't see the meat anyway.
You didn't come to the meet.
I know the owner of the meat, so I didn't have to come to the meat.
Okay. You see, rams have leg, but when they are slaughtered, they become meat. Meat don't migrate. You have to go to the meat.
Good one.
All right, we have a couple of papers with us this morning. The Daily Trust, the Nigerian pilots, we have the Punch,
we have the Blueprints and Daily Sun.
All right, so let's begin with the Daily Trust. On the front page of the Daily Trust, just below the nameplate, it says, "Rift with Obaseki created by selfish people," says Oshomole. That's on page 13 of the Daily Trust. How Katsina IDPs marked Salah in camp. It's on page 3. NCCA issues Ebola alert to airlines, call for vigilance. That's on page 4. And the lead story that's on the Daily Trust this morning, Buhari to CBN, stop giving Forex for food. Buhari to CBN, stop giving Forex for food. With a rider there, President host SGF, Omo Agege, and 10 APC governors in Dora. That's the lead story for the Daily Trust this morning. Let's go to the foot of the paper. Let's see if we have more, headlines there. All right, London police officer joins Big Brother without permission. That's a story that's trending on social media. And police arrest robbers, amorous, others in Abuja. That's on page 36. And on 16, you have a federal YFG's bonds were oversubscribed in January. Those are the stories on the front page of the Daily Trust this morning. Blessings.
Okay, I think let's take a cue from one of the stories you took about the president directing the Central Bank of Nigeria. That's the lead story for Blueprint. Buhari director CBN, that's the kicker, stop Forex for food importation. And there's a writer to the story, vows to continue working for the poor. The photograph there, you have some foreign envoys actually visiting an IDP camp, and that's a Fulani Ruga settlement, and that's where they actually had their Salah celebration, and it's in the spirit of sacrifice and reaching out. And the other photograph you have there is that of the leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zazaki, on arrival in India for his medical treatment. Okay, let's move further down the papers. Fake cylinders, experts warn of bomb-like explosions hitting homes. More details about that on page 15. And just still at the foot of the page, 5 years after, Gwoza, Bama communities, that's in Borno, returned to mark Salah. More details about that on page 17. Now in Taraba, the story is on the police-army blame game. This has been described as dangerous for security, and you'll find more details about that on page 17 as well. Abducted DPO regains freedom in Delta after 3 million naira ransom. And in Adamawa, local government have total control over funds. This is coming from the body, Nolge. More details about that on page 17 as well. Okay, let's see. On the front page of the Daily Sun is still the same story on the federal government's move against food importation, directing CBN to stop Forex to importers. But just beside the master, we have 11 Kano district heads defy Ganduje, attend Emir Sanusi's Durbar. More details about that on page 42. Okay, let's get Bayo in at this point before we look at other stories.
Thank you. Yes, the president's instruction to the central bank is categorical. Stop providing foreign exchange for food importation into Nigeria. The governor, while hosting 10 governors at Salah launch yesterday, said there is steady improvement in agriculture in Nigeria, and also we have attained sufficiency as far as food security is concerned. Foreign reserve will be conserved and utilized strictly for the diversification of the economy and not for the dependence of foreign exchange and providing bill imports for food importation. He declared, we have achieved food security, and for physical security, we are not doing badly. Spokesman for the president, Garba Shehu, said that the president is delighted that young Nigerians, including graduates, are now experiencing agriculture and exploring agriculture as a business. And they are also posting testimonies of good returns. He said the president's presidential retreat for the incoming ministers will also ensure that they meet targets that will be set for them by the administration. The office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation will be monitoring the ministers to ensure they achieve the target. Now, there's this story, Rhoda, you read about Nigeria's Civil Aviation Authority. They're giving some alert now to all airlines, all international and regional airlines, to avoid any flying in passengers that are infected with Ebola into Nigeria. This followed the resurgence of Ebola virus in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The World Health Organization has declared public health emergency of international concern in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The DG NCAA, that is Captain Mukhtar Usman, says that he has written letters to all airlines to take note of some specific issues. First, in case of death, airlines are supposed to notify the port health services before they convey any human remains into the country. Pilots are also during their flight to report to command and control and the air traffic controller on the approach if they have any persons that have communicable diseases on the airline. They are also required to have first aid kits on flight, and also ensure that their crew have refresher courses about how to handle communicable diseases. And these reasons are not far-fetched. You recall that the only time Ebola came into Nigeria, it came through an airport passenger, and that is why it's so. There is the other story that Blessing read about developments in Taraba regarding the intelligence response team. Now, Vanguard has reported that an army captain who allegedly orders his men to shoot the intelligence response officers has been identified. The paper says that the police investigation revealed that he had 191 telephone conversations with the wanted Wadume between July 19th and August 6th. And there are inferences that the officer, a captain, might have allegedly been provided cover for the wanted fugitive. There are also indications that the captain and 5 other personnel who took part in the shooting of the intelligence response officers and the 2 civilian officers actually were probably on the payroll of the man who is wanted. It is alleged that Hamisu Bala alias Wadume had been kidnapped because a soldier actually called. The soldier said that the captain called them and told them that the man has been kidnapped and they should stop a bus. He described the bus as a silver-colored Toyota Hiace bus that was coming, must be stopped at all costs. The police sources also indicate that the captain was actually in contact with the kidnapper for a long time, and an alleged strong link with the captain was also explained. The other information that the police also have is that the police inspector, there was a police inspector who actually informed the army captain when the intelligence response team arrived at Taraba. That police officer has also been arrested and he's been questioned. The third leg is that villagers who took the arms of the intelligence response men and collected them were arrested by the soldiers who also collected the arms from them. It was said that when the bus somersaulted, their arms were flung into the bush, the farmers collected them, and the soldiers visited them and seized the arms from them. Meanwhile, Vanguard also has indicated that its investigation showed that the issue of Wadume was actually brought to limelight in March 2019. This followed a petition by a man from Kaduna State who says that his cousin had been kidnapped on February 15 at Takum. The kidnappers demanded 200 million. At the first instance, 85 million was paid, and the man was not released. An additional money was demanded, and they paid an additional 20 million that was paid. Still, they did not release the man. They demanded that their 200 million, which was initially demanded, must be paid. Subsequently, the man was only released after they had paid a total of 120 million. This was why they reported to the intelligence response team, and they followed up and tracked down Wadume. So it's been a long thing that the intelligence officers have been following through and have been monitoring closely.
All All right, it's good to know that an investigation has been launched into it. We're beginning to have reports because that was something that was so disturbing to a lot of Nigerians. And at the end of the day,
the caution there overrode in Abayo is just on trading blames left and right. What we want is a secured environment, irrespective of who saw what and who is doing some other kind of games, as we were saying. But basically, security in that area, security generally. And if there are wranglings between the security agencies, two don't go well.
But it's important that but you see, it's important that we're having reports as to what actually happened, because that's one thing that bothers a lot of Nigerians. When things like this happen, it's as if it's just swept under the carpet and that's the end of it. But sometimes when you get a report or you get to understand what really happened, you have a better understanding.
Yes, usually security can give way to conspiracy, and when you have a fifth column is among security, and that is what you have. And this investigation by the paper have actually told us the background behind it and what was going on. There's even another leg to it. There was an arms dealer, Ojomo is his name, who was arrested. He also has confirmed that he has sold arms to Wadume, and he is another ally in Benue State. His name is Moses. And he confirmed that he was getting his arms from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Libya.
All right, Bayo, let's quickly move on very quickly. We're out of time for the review. But very quickly, I won't take most of the stories, but I think another story that's trending I'd like you to just look at is that of the Nigerian pilot. The lead story there, which we read in other papers, says end of Cold War, Obaseki Oshomole meets rift creation of selfish people, says Oshomole. Says Obaseki is my brother, blames the media for creating factions. My visit, not unusual to celebrate Salah with my former boss, says Obaseki. By what's happening there?
Yes, actually, the Governor Obaseki had visited Iyamo to pay Salah homage to the APC chairman and also her mother, Hajia Aisha to Oshiomole during the Salah period. And the governor categorically said it is part of what he is doing. Earlier on, he had visited the former APC chairman, who is also a former governor of the state, who was celebrating the 80th birthday, and he went there. And so after that ceremony, usually the pressman said this is unusual, and the APC chairman said there's nothing unusual about it. And he says that the seeming rift that had existed was an unfortunate and the creation of people with personal interests and also the media. So he was blaming the media, and this time now they are blaming the messenger. They are not blaming themselves. So he says the meeting was not. Yeah, he said the meeting was not unusual, and that they have been meeting once in a while. But the good thing is that the rift is coming to an end and they are mending faces.
Okay. All right. I think that will be it because we have some other stories. There is the Apapa gridlock on the front page of the Punch. Soldiers, hoodlums, extortion, frustrating Oshibaju's panel. Bribe takers in uniform and impersonators. This is coming from Apaifa. Provide bribery evidence against our boys. This is coming from the Navy.
There's also flood alert, particularly in Enugu, two communities. One of them, two communities, is Ngene Anwanta and Ngene Anwozodi. The rivers Oboitu and Ata have overflown their banks, and the citizens are now moving. And there has been alert by National Hydrological Institute, and they are advising that if even you are a pedestrian, you are walking, and there's flood water up to 4 feet level, don't wade into it, it can sweep you away.
Don't even drive.
They have also told motorists, if you are driving and the water level is almost reaching your bonnet, don't dare to drive in it because it will sweep away the tires. So those are the cautions that people have to be very careful about.
Sure.
Abuja, we remember, is suffering for a lot of what is described as urban flood, which is a factor of poor drainage, managing the drainage system.
Yes,
also,
right.
Lower Usman Dam is gradually filling up. Jabi area, we all have to be very careful.
All right, thank you very much, Bayo. We hope to see you again tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a break now, and when we come back this morning, our subject for discussion is on the impeachment of deputy governors in Nigeria. It's something that I'm sure you're interested in. When we come back, we have more.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day. They are there silently, guarding, waiting, listening, and watching. They are there ready in the sky above and the waters below, in the blistering heat of the day, in the dead of night, willing, indefatigable, determined in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles. They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues, and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
Welcome back. If you just tuned in, the program is Good Morning Nigeria, and on the subject matter, that is the impeachment of deputy governors. Serafina Okon went to town and she saw the views of Nigerians on this subject matter. Let's get to see what she has put together.
I think it's not even constitutional because it's a joint ticket that brought the governor and the deputy governor together. It's just an act of executive rascality. I don't think it's normal because whenever we point at the federal government, we are not looking at the state. The states are the main problem the Nigerian state is having. The state governors are the problem because how would you impeach your deputy governor just because he's not dancing to your tune, or he has changed, or he has a contrary opinion to yours, and you start thinking of how to impeach him? That is an unfortunate situation. And I think the federal government should try to caution the state governors on this act, because if we allow the trend to keep going, it will not be good for the country.
It's actually a challenge. Governors wants to control their state assembly, thereby going out of their way to enforce what they want. But as a matter of fact, personally, I think is wrong and is unconstitutional, where deputy governors are just there like a spare tire, and governors just get away with them at will. It's really unconstitutional. It's not right. I think there should be a legislation that will prevent and prohibit governors from doing such things. It's really unconstitutional. I think the National Assembly or members of the National Assembly should think of coming up with a bill that will prohibit governors from doing things like this.
I think the governor is the one who is voted into office, not the deputy governor, right? The governor is the one who chooses the deputy governor, right? Now, if the governor is the one who chooses the deputy governor and he decides or he sees it like the deputy governor is not performing well, he's not doing what he's supposed to do, he has every right to impeach or kick him out of office.
He chose him. Two of them have voted him. If not the wickedness of the nation, governor and deputy supposed to work hand on hand to move the state forward. It's because of the wickedness and what is in the pocket. That is the problem.
Thank you very much, Serafina. I'm sure the views are as diverse as our faces are different in Nigeria, and I'm sure in this discussion this morning you'll find other views as well. Now, joining us in the studio to discuss the topic, we'd like to welcome at this point a familiar face on the program, and also a former deputy governor. Dr. Chris Akomas is a former deputy governor of Abia State and National Publicity Secretary, Forum of Former Deputy Governors. I'd like to welcome you to the program, Dr.
Thank you for having me.
Also in the studio with us, we'd like to welcome Right Honorable Bello Abdullahi, is the former Speaker of Kogi State House of Assembly. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay. Rhoda, we have another guest from outside Abuja.
All right, and from our Kaduna studios, we're being joined by Yunus Ustaz Usman. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria. He's a legal practitioner, and of course, he's a regular on our program. Good morning, Nigeria. SAN Yunus Ustaz Usman, it's good to have you join us this morning.
And happy Salah to you.
Happy Salah. All right, let's begin the discussion with you over there in Kaduna, SAN Yunus Ustaz Usman. When we talk about impeachment, when the Constitution talks about impeachment, what is the intention behind it? Why did the Constitution provide for a segment where you have impeachment? What was the intention? What was the brain behind having that in our Constitution? Let's start from there.
The brain behind the provision for impeachment can be found in section 188 of the Constitution. And then when we're advisors to the Constitutional Drafting Committee, the debate was now mainly when the governor or the deputy breaches the Constitution. That was the main aim. If they breach the constitutional provision, then we impeach them. Or if they did anything that will be a ridicule to the state, not to go about impeaching deputy governors because they had they were rearing chickens or animals, which the Constitution provides that is the only aspect of part-time job that a governor or deputy governor can do. Unfortunately, the governors are misusing this. They are now impeaching their deputies for obeying the provisions of the Constitution, and that is most unfortunate. The aim was, please, if any governor or deputy breaches provisions of the Constitution or does anything that will ridicule the state, impeach him. But now it has gone too far undefined.
Okay, Ustaz, still with you before we get the views from our guest here in Abuja. Essentially, as you've tried to define where the impeachment letter is with the Constitution, what exactly could constitute a breach before impeachment will set in?
Like I said before, when the governor, for instance, does anything contrary to the Constitution, for example, if a governor should commit murder because you cannot try him, if the governor should breach the fundamental right of a citizen because you cannot try him, the same thing for the deputy governor. These were the issues that were in view then. But then the Constitution itself is weak. It says, or such misconduct as the State House of Assembly may deem it as gross misconduct. Unfortunately, they take anything that they think that have been dictated to, from my little experience, especially my bad experience in Taraba, is the governor who dictates to the State House of Assembly what he thinks will be misconduct, and the houses of assembly imbibe this without any question. That is how bad it has been. We'll get to the details later.
Thank you very much, SAN Usman. Let's get Dr. Chris Akoma's view on this gross misconduct. Anything that breaches the Constitution, anything that ridicules the state. What's your take on that?
Thank you very much. It is disheartening that this is still happening. The Constitution, as the learned Sikh explained, meant grievous misconduct. Grievous misconduct which is against the constitutions or the provisions of that part of the Constitution. But unfortunately, it became something else. A weapon of intimidation, a weapon for manipulation, and a weapon of vendetta. If you recall, even at the national level, it was something that was used recklessly and carelessly. And that was why in the life of an administration, a section of the country produced 5 Senate presidents within the life of that administration. It was also an issue with the National Assembly at the Green Chambers. But then they realized and recognized that if something is not done, it will continue. Why am I coming from this point? Because the legislature at the national level recognized the need to do their work and to do what is right. And that is why we have some sanity at this level. But at the lower level, the legislators are still under the beck, call, and command of the governors, based principally on one thing: who pays? Because if the legislators at that level refuses to do what the governor is requesting them to do, the next thing you will see amongst them struggling to impeach the functionaries of the legislature, the speaker, the deputy speaker, so that they can take, because somebody is paying. And that has made deputy governors more endangered. Why? In most states, when a deputy governor is impeached, part of the carrot to the legislators is that one of you will be, or somebody you approve, because they will have to consent to the nomination. So they have a big stake. And most times, these things happen in such a way and manner that even if somebody asks for something that you don't have and you say, sorry, I can't give that, it has become misconduct. I've said it in various programs before. Our forum is very unhappy with what is happening. I think since the ticket to that office of governor and deputy governor is joint, our legislators at the national level should begin to look at a way of also holding both of them jointly culpable and responsible for actions that otherwise the way you don't greet somebody is misconduct. You say the truth and express your opinion is misconduct. Some things that could be, handled and discussed at that level. The governor is the father of the state. And the deputy governor is also, like the deputy father of the state. So fathers cannot be seen to be engaged in trivialities. The issue of impeachment and the way it's going, you see somebody like the senior advocate said, my friend in Enugu, it was chicken. For some of us, because he said, whatever they say is misconduct, is misconduct. Now, the catch here and why they go on doing this is that once pronounced, you don't challenge the pronouncement, you can only challenge the process.
Okay.
And if they follow the process properly, in most cases, the impeachment will not come through. So they don't follow the process to the letter.
Dr. Chris Comas. That's part of why we're discussing the issue this morning. The process of impeachment, how it's being handled, how very quickly, a notice is served, and within a very short period of time, a deputy governor is impeached. But then let's get the views of Bello Alhaji Abdullahi. You are a former speaker of the Kogi State House of Assembly. People have their diverse opinion that state houses of assembly are rubber stamps for the governors. How true is that?
Well, thank you, my dear sister. See, I think it is not true when this assertion is stated that state houses of assemblies are rubber stamps to the executive. During the time I served in Kogi State, either as a member of the State Assembly or when I was coordinating as the Speaker of the State Assembly, Kogi State House Assembly was one of the outstanding state legislature in the country. We stood our ground. We maintained the principle of constitutionalism, and we even had very tough encounter with the governor then that the whole world, was aware of. So my assembly during my time was never a rubber stamp. I cannot say of other state assemblies in the country. And so the assembly has been doing very well. Even the current one that we are talking about now, about issue of impeachment, if we noticed the opening remark by our Leonard Sikh, SAN, he mentioned very important word there, that's ridicule. Any act that any public officer does that in the opinion of the assembly members amount to bringing the state to ridicule is an act of misconduct. And as my brother here, my elder here, whom we have met, severally, and he knows the kind of person am I, that I always stand on the path of principle. Whoever is found, or in my own opinion, to have offended the law, I don't hide away from the truth. So the process, he has mentioned the process. The process is very, very cumbersome. Yeah. When attempting to remove the president, the vice president, the governor, and the deputy governor, it's not a straight jacket process. Section 188 of the Nigerian Constitution, as amended, stipulated the process. That is, if there is any allegation signed by 2/3 of the members before the process can commence, and 14 days notice needed to be given to the occupant of that office, which, for instance, now the recent one that has generated this controversy is Kogi State, where I come from. 14 days has been given. The process has commenced. So we cannot say that the process has not commenced according to the Constitution. But in some other states, as previously witnessed, they didn't follow the process. And when subjected to judicial scrutiny, definitely such decisions of the State Assembly may be reversed where the process was breached by the Assembly members themselves.
All right, thank you very much, Right Honorable Bello. We'll come back to both of you here in the studio, but let's get to Ibadan, where we have another guest seated. Professor Alexander Shenge is a professor of industrial and organizational consumer psychology, Faculty of Social Sciences. Now, let's underscore the process to which we have found deputies in Nigeria generally. And they have been described, the activities with their principles have been described in various interesting terms. Give us an overview of what you've seen and the psychology behind this act, which comes to the hallmark of impeachment saga.
Good morning, Nigerians. Let me start by saying that governors and their deputies are supposed to be partners in progress. The governor and the deputy, they come into position, their position on the joint ticket, and they are supposed to be partners in progress. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I just want to say that I think the whole idea of impeachment is supposed to check excesses of an executive person that is in an executive position who enjoys immunity from civil and other non-civil litigations. But I think governance should see their deputies as partners in progress. The idea here is to bring about progress to the state where they govern. Now, people have described deputy governance in different ways concerning impeachment. Some have described them as endangered species. Some describe the process as being the hand of Esau, but the voice of Jacob, or so how to say it. But I think when members of the state assemblies also do their work well, they know what they have to do, then I think they will relate better with the executive, with the governor, but like the other contributor said, once money and other material needs are involved, people lose their focus, and that is not good for the system. We can even start looking at that from the point of view of the electioneering process. Now, as a psychologist, when I take a look at the posters during campaigns, the normal thing you will see is the photo of the governor very big, then the small one by the side of the deputy governor. What did I show you? It is telling us about the mindset of the governor even before they come in. The mindset of I'm a big person here, very important. Then there's another person here who is somewhat inconsequential, and that's not good enough. So the mindset here is a big problem. So governors should go into office with the mindset that their deputies are their partners in progress, and that when they partner with them very well, and that there are constitutional provisions for going about this. Let me say, as people have observed already, that I've taken a look at the Section 188 of the Nigerian Constitution as amended, and the process of impeachment is very rigorous. If it is really followed dutifully, it is a rigorous process, but sometimes there are shortcuts. People, as we have seen in the system in the past, people bypass certain things, people manipulate certain things, and then it becomes so easy. It is not supposed to be as easy as it is done every now and then in this country. So I think in the course of maybe amending the constitution later on, I think the people that do all these things have to look at these things very seriously. The other issue here is the challenge of determining, ascertaining what is gross misconduct. There are certain terms that can be subjected to interpretation that are not objective. And I think all of these things are very important, and we need to look at them. And the legislature at the state level should see the executive as a partnership progress. They shouldn't be seen as people to be described as rubber stamp. Again, it depends on the state that is involved. Nigerians have ways of evaluating things at different times in different ways. When the state assembly is assertive and appear to be, in quote, antagonistic to the governor, people say that they are causing confusion, they are being antagonistic. Now, when there is a kind of a cooperation, people look at it as being a rubber stamp. So I think the state assemblies and their leaders should look at all of these things very well and serve the nation to bring about progress and development. Because the overall utilitarian value of governance is to bring about improved quality of life in the citizenry. And I think Nigerians should have that at the back of their mind, that what they are there to do is to bring about a positive change in the lives of citizens of Nigeria and of their state.
Professor Shenge, will come back to you in the course of the discussion as well. Let's get back to former Deputy Governor Dr. Chris Akomas. In your forum, that's the forum of former Deputy Governors, there are great concerns, no doubt. Some of them we have already started talking about. But where we have these breaches or these issues that usually characterize the rift between governors, what are those things that you found out over the time? Perhaps that's at least we could share some examples across the states. You already pointed out that from state to state they vary. Let's find out what you know.
Thank you very much. Yes, from state to state they vary, but on the average, if you take average assessment, you will. It's not fair, but if you take the average assessment, the general thing is that the state legislatures, legislative assemblies are weak, and my prof from Ibadan talked about cooperation. Cooperation is needed. Collaboration is important in governance between the legislature and the executive. But over cooperation or being subservient to the point where you impede on the human rights and the authority of the other person in order to press that person, just because you have the fund, just because as a stakeholder it will benefit you personally and not looking at the general and public good, is what we are against. I have said before in one of the programs here that our forum, we even kept, and it was only registered and incorporated as forum of former deputy governors to avoid conflict with the forum of governors, because people at that time were thinking that we want to go into direct confrontation or competition, which is not correct. Every serving deputy governor is an associate of the forum. What is key here is that the ticket to be a governor is defective without the deputy governor. Just like he said, when you are campaigning, when you are coming, everything is fine. You come into office, the few, months, everything will be fine. We have standing speakers and legislators at the state levels that performed wonderfully well. Like himself, he's my very good brother and friend we have known for years. One of the things that endeared him to most of us is that question of principle, when you know that somebody will go for what is right. But in a situation where people go for things because they want to satisfy their personal need pocket-wise, and to satisfy their need, ambitious need to become or have one of them become, that has become part of the problem. Let me tell you, in most of the states, take it from Lagos to Bayelsa, I'm mentioning states where impeachments have taken, to Akwa Ibom, to Enugu, Abia, Bauchi, Taraba, Kano. You know, when I mention these states, it's either a deputy governor was forced to resign or was impeached to a number of places. And Kogi, this is not the first time it's happening in Kogi. You look at it, in some cases, and in most cases, it comes close to election. Once the second term electionary period is coming, that's when the heat is mostly on. And if you go right down, you notice that people by the sides are the ones inaugurating the wars or the confusion. And unfortunately, most of our governors, because they believe, and of course it's understandable too, except somebody is very mature than in mind and in thinking and has that confidence. After all, former President Obasanjo and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar had their differences, but they served out their 8 years term. And nobody was impeached. We, as human beings, there must be disagreement. But once this disagreement occurs, the first thing is, oh, we can impeach him, we remove him. After all, he hasn't got the money. They just do a kangaroo thing. They won't follow the process. Few weeks, they serve. As I speak to you now, Right Honorable, I know you. like you said, the present deputy governor, His Excellency Achuba, is yet to be served the notice. As at yesterday, he has not been served. But people have started counting 2 weeks. Now, what is the relationship between the judiciary and the executive in your state? The next thing now, you hear an announcement will be made. He has been impeached. What type of thing is like? That's what happens everywhere. And that is why almost all the impeachment that were done has been overturned by the judiciary. God bless the judiciary. I thank them, without them it would have been...
right.
So what I'm saying is, the issue of misconduct is something that has to be, I think, 2 things. It should be listed. What translates to this misconduct? When you talk of oath of office, oath of allegiance, and things, some people may be out of pressure, desperation, and then an effort to, make themselves heard, may have gone against that, or done something that is. But then, where is that statesmanship? Because at that level, you are talking of statesmen. Yeah. And to the best of my knowledge, by the 27th of January, this administration in Kogi would hand over to another person. In November, there will be election. Assuming the process of impeachment is followed to the letter, there will be no way, there is no way you can conclude this in 3 months. And so, why can't we sit down, talk? You have managed yourselves to this point, less than 5 months. Why can't you manage yourselves and save us these problems and then also save the resources of the state? Why deploy it towards showing a man that you have power? It's only God that has power.
Dr. Chris Akoma, thank you very much for your thoughts there. Some very important issues that you have raised that later on, Bello Alhaji Abdullahi will speak to it. One of the issues that you raised is most of the impeachments that we have seen, the issues have been instigated from outside. Yes. It never was initiated by the House of Assembly itself. I'd like you to speak to that. That will be much later. But then you raised an issue now that I would like the Leonard...
No, the word never is not right. I said some.
Some, okay, have never been instigated outside and initiated by the House. But then let's get Leonard Sik Usman to also speak to the issue that you have raised. The present issue that is ongoing in Kogi State, the Deputy Governor, according to Dr. Chris Akoma, has not been served impeachment notice. What is the legal implication of this? That is one. Then number two, from your experience, I'm aware that you have handled an impeachment case in the past. What has been your experience? And from the several cases that you have seen, what are the issues, the main issues that lead to deputy governors being impeached?
If I should tell you my experience, we will not live here today, so let's cut things short. But I thank the last speaker for one thing, for acknowledging the fact that without the judiciary, politicians, like my last speaker, would have already destroyed this country since. Without the judiciary, politicians would have since destroyed this country. So we thank Almighty God for that. The second thing he said is that the governors will know, all the executives will know that only God has power, not a human being. Then we'll get to Kogi. Kogi, because the process is on now, I won't talk much, but the problem is that when things are not done normally, you can never follow the process correctly. And Section 188 is very strict and cumbersome, that no legislative house so far has been able to follow the procedure. It's cumbersome. Already, Kogi own is flawed. It's flawed already because the intention is bad. There's evil motive behind the whole thing. And so even God himself will make you make mistakes. They have already started making mistakes. The procedure is that, now first of all, before you won't start any process, at least 1/3 of the members, and when you say 1/3, that is 1/3 of all the members must sign the notice, and that signature, as you can see from the one I did in Taraba, must not be done outside the floor of the house. So it must be done on the floor of the house which means you can't do it overnight as was done in Taraba. And then you serve the speaker. Then within 7 days, the speaker will now serve this notice on the deputy governor or whoever is to be impeached and so on. But this procedure is so cumbersome that because of their bad motive, in all, I have no exception, I have no apology so far because we are not going anywhere in this country. They have never been able to do it correctly at all. Kogi, like I said, is flawed already. Let me tell you little of my experience in Taraba. The Taraba one is this. I'm sorry I have to mention names because I'm an old man who have to get somewhere before we die. Now, the deputy governor, who was my client then, was said to have met another politician, Aisha, when they went on Hajj. And the governor heard that Aisha and the deputy governor were embracing each other, greeting in a very cordial manner. When he came back, the governor said, why did he do so? That was the genesis of his impeachment. In fact, when this thing started, he said, I should follow him. I said, I won't follow you. When there, the first thing he did was to kneel down for the governor. I said, why are you kneeling down for the governor? You are his deputy. And that was how I left them. That was how the whole thing started. Though. And then unfortunately for us, the panels that are normally set up, they say it must be people of integrity who do not belong to any political class. It's a lie. Quote me anywhere. Normally, before these people are appointed, it is the same governor or the governor's supporters, those who want to impeach these people, that will select these people, like it happened in Taraba. So that even the whole process, they were supposed to have done this within 3 months. They concluded their own in 4 days. Even when I was away, I lost somebody. I said, please, adjourn it till the following day for me. The members who were my own junior in secondary school refused to do it. And then within 4 days, they concluded the whole thing. But as God Almighty to have it, Supreme Court set aside the whole thing and even said that these members should be disciplined. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So that the whole thing is from the petition writers, the speakers, most of the speakers, apart from my brother who is there, who was an outstanding speaker then, and in Kogi. And that's why it didn't find things easy. Almost all of them are in the pay pockets of the governors. And what brings about this is that he who, they say who pays the piper dictates the tune. In all the states of the federation today, the houses of assembly, all the houses of assembly are in the pay pockets of the governors. Please quote me anywhere. And that is the problem. But the unfortunate thing is that there is nowhere you won't quarrel. Why can't our governors, all our governors, almost all our governors now, were not really elected? It is because of the cloud of Buhari that they were brought in and said they were elected. Why don't they now copy the Buhari style? Buhari has never quarreled with Osinbajo, but our governors will not take advantage of the man's integrity and will do the exact opposite. This is the problem in Nigeria, and if we continue this way, we won't get anywhere. Then one of the most important things is that when they were drafting this thing, the advice we gave was that stop at breach of the constitution, that if the person breaches the constitution or the code of conduct, then he should be impeached. But when they went, my brother, I don't know whether you were one of those who said that we were too legalistic, that they should give the members of the houses a say to say that any conduct. That was how that any conduct was brought in. And that's the one they are using now to do all the bad nocturnal activities in removal process.
I was going to also ask you, I wanted to ask you, Blessing, I was going to ask you, part of the issues that people have raised is that section 188 or the Constitution itself does not provide for the role of a deputy governor. And that is part of why people see them as a spare tire. How true is that? Does the Constitution solely provide or specifically highlight the roles of a deputy governor, or it is under that of the governor?
93 of the Constitution specifically says that the governor may assign, it does not even say shall, it doesn't say must, may assign a role to the deputy governor, which means a wicked governor may not even assign any role at all because he says may assign. But then that was not what was in the draft. The draft was that the deputy governor shall be given, we call it consumative role by the governor. They removed that at the last level. And it was not removed during the debating process, so it was at the drafting process. And I understand with the greatest respect that many things happen when that thing was removed. After its removal, I think the people who had the final say did not look at that provision again or did not call for any legal advice before they put it there. So as at now, the deputy governor has no role at all. It is any role that the governor wants him to play. And in most cases, the roles that the governor gives them to play are normally, from my little experience, normally dirty roles. That if you say you are not playing it, you are impeached.
Thank you very much, Leonard Silk. We'll come back to you to explore more on those flaws or lacuna in the Constitution that is giving the legal ground for this to actually breathe. Okay, let's get back to Right Honorable Abdullahi. Some of issues raised, aspects of the Constitution, you just mentioned some of them. The guest in Ibadan also looked at that. And basically, like we've pointed out, not having this concise role to play by the deputy governors, that's an issue for state houses of assembly, so that if they need to actually look at such breaches, whether committed by the governor themselves or even the deputies, because one is a joint ticket, how does this impact on the kind of legislation that we get from the state houses of assembly?
Thank you. So let me address this issue in about 4 key areas. One, my distinguished elder brother here has mentioned that this is not the first time that impeachment against a deputy governor, a city deputy governor in Kogi, is not true. It's not correct. It's not correct. Sorry to use the not true. It's not correct. Since the time of Prince Abubakar Audu till now, no deputy governor has faced impeachment process in Kogi State. This is the first time that a Kogi sitting deputy governor is facing this question from the state legislature. Secondly, he mentioned the altercation between Obasanjo, President Obasanjo, and Vice President Atiku Abubakar as at then. If we noticed during their misunderstanding, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar never came to the public to address, to divulge information out of what he knows about, or by virtue of he being in office as Vice President, to the entire nation, thereby bringing the nation to ridicule or constituting himself to as security risk to the nation. Because there's some position you reach in life or in government that if you say A, B, C, you have either ridiculed the government or you have become a security risk to the government. So that is why most of us that goes to take appointment either by way of election, the drafters of the Constitution are wise enough to give two things upon assumption of duty of office.
I want to make it very clear, because I know now that you're specifically referring to the issue that is on ground, in the sense that part of the notice that is said to have been served or will be served to the Deputy Governor of Kogi State, Honorable Simon Achuba, is that he has made certain statements publicly that has ridiculed the state, and, in a way, some statement he has made has posed some security threats to the state.
I'm still coming to that, my sister.
Okay, go ahead.
You see, where I reached before you stopped me is that the drafters of our Constitution are quite aware of what may likely happen if you are exposed to certain information by virtue of your position in government. Mm-hmm. That is why, upon assumption of office, you are sworn to first oath of allegiance to the country. Secondly, then oath of office. The first one of allegiance is to commit yourself to the nation, that you defend this nation, even if you have to put in your life on the line. The second one, oath of office, is so rich and comprehensive to the extent that one is made to commit himself that I will not even I shall, is will. I thank God that we have a learned Sikh here. I will not divulge any information directly or indirectly to any other person. That this information that comes to me by virtue of me being a member of this government or this office that I'm occupying. So that is it. Now we talk about the issue of breach of the Constitution. If having taken this oath, you come out publicly to say statements, the question for determination is whether a breach has occurred. If, for instance, one is covered by the Constitution from a prosecution, and upon you driving yourself along the street privately on your own, you knock down a citizen, and the citizen, become, is killed in the process. Do you now say that a breach has not occurred because you have taken a citizen's life? When a breach is, occurred, the only thing anybody can vouch for is political solution to the crisis. To coming out to your question as to what the state legislature can do to enhance the working, the working environment of a sitting deputy governor. Yes, I thank God we have an association of former deputy governors. We have seasoned lawyers in this country. We have citizens that are well informed. The Constitution is so flexible to the extent that we can propose an amendment by either the forum of former deputy governors or even somebody like me, putting in certain things into the Constitution for an amendment whereby the functions of deputy governor can be expanded. If it goes through the National Assembly and it now goes through about 24 states in the country of the State Assembly concurring to such an amendment, it becomes part of the Constitution. So in that regard, what we needed to do is constitutional amendment in order to bring in certain function that is going to be binding on any sitting deputy governor in the country. But I beg to disagree with my learned Sikh that the ongoing process in Kogi is flawed from beginning, though it's learned. But I believe that from what has commenced in Kogi, 14 days provision of the Constitution has been given. The question of whether it was served on the deputy governor or not, I cannot say because I am not the one that is in the Speaker or the Assembly. So, but I thank God that my brother here, being a member of the former deputy governor, they are well related. He may have come with better information than myself, being a former Speaker of a state. I will always stand on the side of the state legislature in this country, but not to the extent where such state assembly is found to perform subjectively or has gone outside the Constitution, deviated from the path of the constitutionalism in the conduct of their legislative duty.
Well, one question that bothers some people is that there has never been any impeachment that was instigated either from outside or by a governor that has failed.
Well, let me tell you this. I don't keep track of. I think there's for a long time or for some times before now, we have noticed some funny impeachment process across the country. One where a deputy governor is seen to be impeached because he kept a chicken or fowl in his compound, and that amount to a misconduct or gross misconduct, or where, as the learned Sikh has mentioned, a deputy governor is alleged to have had interaction with a citizen of this country, then it has amount to misconduct. These are hearsay, especially this second one, because the governor was not in Saudi Arabia with the deputy governor. So somebody may have, a third party may have come to inform the, even if the deputy governor has committed such crime, it is based on hearsay. And when subjected to the courts never allow any information based on hearsay to pass through. But the current one that we are talking about now that generated this discussion is Kogi.
All right. You were speaking to it earlier because you were raising some issues which I actually asked and said the issue of security and all of that.
Issues because we've left Ibadan in limbo for some time. Dr. Akumas will get you to react. But right there in Ibadan, aside Professor Alexander Shenge, we also invited political scientist Professor Remi Ayede, who is already seated, as we understand, is of the political science department, University of Ibadan. Professor Ayede, I'm sure you've had the benefit of listening on the other guests' outlook to impeachment of deputy governors versus the instrumentality of states. Where is all this process being taken into consideration, and where we have the obvious lacuna from the Constitution, where and how we've been able to do it right and how we've been able to achieve much. But then let's get your views on all of this situation that you have presented on all donors.
I think the first point that needs to be emphasized is that impeachment is not just a legal process, it's also a political matter. And that's why if you look at the condition for impeachment, emphasis is placed on what is described as gross misconduct. And it has to be politically determined most of the time. And that's why when we talk about a deputy governor, it's always a joint ticket with the governor. And it is important that there's always that a cordial relationship between the deputy governor and the governor for that office to make sense. And that's why many governors treat that office essentially as a spare tire. And if you take off from that perspective, you recognize the fact that the position of deputy governor is tied to that of the governor. And when governors move for impeachment, simply because they have relational issues with the deputy governor. And if they are unable to address that at that level, then it can spiral into conflict that often end up in the impeachment of the deputy governor, because the governor is actually the person who has executive power and can command the kind of influence that can affect the position of the deputy governor. That's why it's important for us to look at it from that perspective. Now, what it then means is that we need to look at the way deputy governors themselves are appointed or to be running mates to governors. Most of the time, it is usually the product of some form of political settlement, especially in situations where there is a coalition of political parties or political interests in order for the governor to be able to succeed in winning an election. That often leads to a situation where it takes a deputy governor who has been suggested to him by a particular section of the political party. If they don't get some kind of agreement on fundamental issues of state, then there's likely to be a problem. And the decisive point is that a governor always wants to emphasize the fact that the deputy governor will enjoy the position at the pleasure of the governor. And once that is clarified, then a deputy governor must recognize the fact that there's a limit to which he can disagree or publicly oppose the governor. Because in such circumstances, governors are often very quick at trying to assert their authority. We can see that in the case of Lagos State, where this issue of impeachment of deputy governor first occurred, and in several other states in the north. Because of that situation, the governor often feels that the deputy governor's office is to the pleasure of the governor.
All right, thank you very much, Professor. Okay, Dr. Akumas, the studio here, he wanted to say, or he wanted to respond to some of the issues raised. But take this alongside, whatever it is you want to raise, based on the comment from Right Honorable Bello. The Constitution, we've tabled it out. There are obvious gaps to where all of this is emanating from, which is pushing them in the right, different direction. Spirit, letter, bodily. What are the constraints for the deputy governor in agreeing or following suit what was jointly agreed to be aspect of governance? Let's use your own experience.
Thank you. Before I come to that, my right honorable brother here made some statements. When I said this is not the first time in Kogi, there were attempts and issues in the past. I was indirectly referring to the fact that there has been issues also with some previous administrations, but they were able to bring in that statesmanship, and it was managed, and they served out their term. And you heard me say that if this process is followed properly, that this cannot be concluded in less than 3 months. And this is an administration that is going for election in November. August is almost gone. And they will hand over January. So why can't this be managed and save everybody the issues? Yes, mistakes can be made. Nobody is above. It's only God that is perfect. And it's only God that is good. No man is good. How come misconduct is only seen to have been, infringed upon by only deputy governors or speakers of houses of assembly? The governors are they're infallible, isn't it? That is not correct. Everybody makes mistakes. And when mistakes are made, there are elders in the state, there are elders in the party. People must come together, and respect is reciprocal. And like I said, there is need for information. We, as a forum, sat together, made a proposal, which was presented to those that have not seen the light of the day, the last Constituent Assembly. It was presented, properly documented, through a former deputy governor who was then Minister of State Defense, Erelu Obada, Her Excellency Erelu Olushola Obada, and your own former deputy governor, Dr. Philip, His Excellency Dr. Philip Salau, and others, because we had our people there too. Let me tell you part of the problem. Even as we are talking of constitutional amendment, I'm praying and asking God to give us the will to be able to do the right thing. We must get 2/3 of the state assemblies, which is 24, like you said. And this is the same people that said in the last constitutional amendment that they don't want autonomy. Have you forgotten? You guys are out. If it was during your time, that wouldn't have happened. The state legislators were the draft then gave them autonomy. They said they didn't want it. And they didn't want that of the local government. Why? Because somebody pays the bill. Now, there is this NFIU effort to strengthen our local government, areas. And we can see what is happening. Let me tell you something. The prof that spoke last said that, political impeachment has to do with both legal and political aspects. And this political aspect is what I am giving free advice and to other governors. I am not asking them to pay me any consultancy fee for it. Please, allow statesmanship to come into your relationship. Respect the man with whom is partnership. It is not a master-servant relationship. When you do that, it's better. My father told me, and I quote, when you hug a friend, it brings you closer. When you hug a relative, it strengthens the tie. If you hug a member of the family, it strengthens the bond. You don't have somebody together come with you because you want to win an election, you win. Or in this case, where somebody is appointed, you appointed him for a reason. If your calculations is no longer what you are seeing, I mean, must this guy run again? It's still the prerogative of the governor and the party to say who runs goes with him as a running mate. That is not the issue here. The issue here is that there is no need for this. That's what I'm saying. And if someone has made mistake by going to say things, look, my brother, when you have not been paid, you suffered it too. So His Excellency Ochoba said he has not been paid since 2017. I went through that. We had a speaker. You know him, but I won't mention the name now. The one before the one you know, that you are very close to. Yeah. One time we had a meeting. Why are you quarreling with your members and even the governor? He said, look, I was on my own as a house member, drinking my golden guinea and star. This man that is governor introduced me to other types of drinks. And now he said I should not continue to drink. Okay? Somebody, by the grace of God and who has worked hard, he became elected or appointed, in this case, as a deputy governor. His people are looking up to him. Pressure is on him to show forth that he's actually part of the government. Then you starve him of his rightful, allowances, travel allowances, this and that. And then you are enjoying your own. If that pressure comes on you, you need to be very, very strong. You need the grace of God not to open your mouth. Listen, His Excellency Fashola, during the first screening at the National Assembly, in the Senate, as a minister, he was asked question about loyalty. You remember his reply? My brother, I pray that your loyalty will not be tested. Until your loyalty is tested to your stomach and that of your people, the integrity and your respect by your people, then you will know whether. But when that has occurred, this is where elders come in. This is where the governor now, as the father of the state, should take that position of an elder. When a mistake is made, call the person to order and say, don't do this again. These are the implications. Even the House can initiate it. We had a situation in the House where members were trying to impeach a speaker, and I saw what was happening and where it was coming from. At my level as deputy governor, we were able to stop that. So what I'm saying is, let the governors learn to apply that political aspect, as a part of it. Give a hug and let the state move on. Save the state of this unnecessary bickering and save our country while we work on this constitutional, gaps and it's very important. It is a serious problem and we must work on it. The governors themselves also commit gross misconduct. In fact, almost every day. But the House of Assembly will not, they dare not raise it. And then the deputy governor, try now. You see, so that is why we must work together, starting from the state and everywhere. Give support to this effort by this administration to see that the local government, the state legislators, and the judiciary have the autonomy properly harnessed and strengthened so that we can work together respecting one another.
Okay, Dr. Chris Akumas, thank you very much. The good of the state, the good of the nation is what we all, that is the central goal. We're going on a break now. We'll take some messages. When we return, there are reactions already from the viewer, and I'm sure we want to hear from them as well what they think about the topic of the day. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria.
Oh boy, climb this thing now. No be only to connect lights. Come you and yourself now. Now wow. Boy, calm down now. Oga Kasali electrician who will look for this.
Oh.
Oga Kasali, come help us fix this wire now.
Ah, sorry. I no longer carry out illegal connection. It puts the lives of people at risk and can cause fire outbreak and disrupt power supply. I will never be part of anything that has to do with this any longer because change begins with me.
Oh boy, wetin you talk make sense. Oh boy, make we carry this ladder comot from here.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Thank you for staying tuned into the program. Good morning, Nigeria. Taking a look at impeachment of deputy governors. Now, let's look at the reactions from the viewer. From Delis Jack Solomon, we have the street. The impeachment of deputy governors by state legislators is further evidence of governors tightening grip over the ruling party in states ahead of the gubernatorial election in the states, just like you have in the case of Kogi. Governors and state lawmakers must stop violating the constitution. We advocate for harmonious working relationships between all state governors and their deputies, between members of the executive and between executive and legislative arms at all levels of governance in Nigeria. In Kogi, 21 out of the 25 lawmakers have signed the petition to impeach the deputy governor of the state on 3 grounds of criminal indulgence, financial misappropriation, and non-performance. Same counts that the deputy governor is fielding against the governor. Who is right on this matter?
The next one is from Mike Anyoko. He says, impeachment of deputy governors, as we have witnessed since this republic, we're all marred with impunity, irregularities and saboteurs, manipulations from executives. Extract laws of the land were violated with reckless abandon. National Assembly must come to their rescue.
Okay, another tweet is the one from Chris Simeon. It says, if Kogi Deputy Governor Mr. Simon Achuba is impeached by State Assembly, the question is, of what benefit has the impeachment brought to the entire populace, economic and social spheres? To me, the impeachment of Kogi Deputy Governor by Kogi State House of Assembly is uncalled for, unethical, due process was not followed.
And then the last one is from Mogbola Babs. It says, looking at all the impeachments from 1999 till date, the deputies had always been at the mercy of their hung cronies. Governors see their deputies as beneficiaries of their own large-heartedness and not with equal mandate. So a governor wakes up from the wrong side of the bed, he mutes the deputy and of course calls for his removal. This act is senseless and insensitive. As long as the deputy governors remains the prerogative of the parties or the governor to be, we will continue to witness such hanky-panky. If deputies are usually elected through primaries like we do would be with governors. The possibility here is that the governors will see their deputies with equal mandates. So those are the tweets that we have now. Remember, you can still be a part of this conversation if you tweet at us, our Twitter handle at NTAGMN. Now, very quickly, we're almost out of time, but then let's bring in Professor Shenge. Let's get your closing thoughts on the way forward. As you do that, what implication does this have on our democracy? The implication of impeaching deputy governors. Are we moving forward or are we retrogressing? And what do you think would be the solution?
It's not just about deputy governors. The whole idea of impeachment, when people want to embark on that, first we should find out what are the benefits at the end of the day. Is it going to benefit the society at the end of the day? And I think, as some of the contributors have said, I think it's a matter of understanding and dialogue. Governors and their deputies and everyone, they are not beyond dialogue. Coming to the table to discuss things, iron out things, to make provisions for the things that need to be done. It is very disheartening to hear that a deputy governor has a benefit, as in the case of the deputy governor of Kogi. I read in the paper somewhere that about he's being owed 819 million naira in benefits and allowances. And that's not good enough. So the dialogue is very important. If the legislature should assert their autonomy but then there should be understanding, mutual understanding. And I think governors are not infallible. Everybody needs to be to train themselves and be trained. I think it is a good opportunity for governors and the people of the legislature to reach out to experts, especially in the social sciences and other areas, to train them in certain areas to go about these issues. For instance, in recent time, I've been looking at issues of emotional intelligence in governance. There are too many Nigerians that are so cognitively intelligent but emotionally very unintelligent. And this has affected relationship in so many ways, a relationship even at the executive level. So I think Nigerians should learn to come together to discuss things that need to be ironed out, because conflicts, at a certain level, they bring out the best, but then when they go extreme, they become counterproductive. But I think coming together to discuss things is very, very important, and the Nigerians should be ready to learn. Governors should also be ready to learn to make room for improvement in the governance in the country.
Thank you very much, Professor Shengel. Let's get the thoughts of Professor Ayede. Earlier on, you talked about the issue of this impeachment not just being legal, but having its own political matter connotation. And you also touched on the issue of political settlement. So how do we tie all of this in to actually have a robust governance for the people at whether at the state level or even on the national scene generally? Unfortunately, we're not able to trace maybe some other areas outside the nation, at least their own experiences. But then, what do we need to do differently to actually ensure that this relationship goes beyond this frostiness?
I think it's important for us to emphasize the idea that we operate a presidential system. And one of the key elements of the presidential system is the identification of an office as the prime office where the buck stops. And that's why we have the president or we have the governor. So there can be two captains in a ship. In fact, one of the reasons why we moved away from the presidential system is to be able to identify an individual who is responsible for governance at the state or national level. And that's why we have the governor. So the deputy governor must recognize the fact that the governor is in charge. But more importantly, the governor, as one of the speakers in your studio has emphasized, must demonstrate statesmanship, because it's easier for you to solve a problem when you are at the helm of affairs than for those who are working with you to be able to assert themselves. So if the governors can bend over backwards to accommodate the deputy governor and make meaning out of that office, then our democracy will benefit. But when we have a situation where the governor is bent on emphasizing his strength or his leadership position to the detriment of collegiality, then you have this kind of problem. So we need more statesmanship from politicians, recognizes the fact that, yes, this is the office that where executive authority lies, but that office is supposed to also be emphasized as an office of leadership, an office where statesmanship is expected to be demonstrated. And if we look at this problem as a political problem, then of course all avenues to settle the problem will then be exploited, whether party leadership, whether members of the legislative arm, or even statesmen who reside within the state can be approached to intervene to resolve this kind of problem. Following a legal procedure, sometimes even abusing the process, will not help our democracy. And once we begin to recognize that the country is larger or the state is larger than the individual, then of course we'll be taking positive steps towards resolving problems like this. Because conflict will always arise when you have two or more people working together. How we resolve that problem, how we deal with them, is what matters. So I think that it's important for this Kogi State governor to recognize that, yes, he has executive authority as the governor, but it's also important for him to demonstrate statesmanship, for him to bend over backwards to accommodate those who are working with him.
Professor Remi Ayede, let's quickly get to Kaduna, where we have the Leonard Silk, Ustaz Usman. Yes, earlier you talked about the process in Kogi already being flawed. Well, there are divergent views back in the studio as well. So what next? What should be the next process to be taken to actually achieve the harmony that the state desires, even as election comes close by the minutes?
And I'd like you to take along with it this. How do we, is it possible that we tighten or we make it more stringent to be able to impeach a governor or a deputy governor in such a way that it's able to protect the votes of electorate, because these people are also elected by, they have electorate who have elected them and are expecting a lot from them? Is it possible that we tighten the process?
Answer the last one first. Now, to tighten the process, you just need two things. One, the state houses of assembly must be independent. Independent in the sense that their budgetary allocations are given to them directly from the federal level. If not, the governor will continue to control them. All the states houses of assembly today are being controlled, unless we are not telling ourselves the truth. The judiciary in the states are not as independent as the federal judiciaries. And that is why in most cases, with the greatest respect, some panels are not properly set up, or the members of the panel are handpicked. And then these people still dance to the tune of the governor. And so like what happened in Taraba, within 4 days they did this. So without independence, if they are not independent of the governor, we can never get anywhere, no matter how tight the constitution is. Then on the first issues, I'm happy about that, because let the public not be ignorant of this. My brother, the Right Honorable, has said that the impeachment has started because 14 days. 14 days cannot start until you serve the man you want to impeach. Please, for this purpose, let me just read this to you so that the public will not have that behind their mind. It's section 188, 188.2. Let me read it. Whenever a notice of any allegation in writing signed by not less than 1/3 of the members of the House of Assembly, A, is presented to the Speaker of the House of Assembly of the state, B, stating that the holder of such office is guilty of gross misconduct in the performance of the functions of his office, detailed particulars of which shall be specified. Then, this is what follows next. The Speaker of the House of Assembly shall, within 7 days of the receipt of notice, cause a copy of the notice to be served on the holder of the office, that is the deputy governor. It is only after it might have been served that you go to the next level of 14 days. You don't put the cart before the horse. And that's why, of course, if they go to court now, it will be flawed already. They can never follow it. So the 14 days, like the first speaker had said, that the deputy has not been served, and we are going to the next stage. Which next stage? It will be flawed. Please, the public should know that the constitutional provisions are cleverly made to make this thing stringent, so that most of the governors, without apology, do not continue to abuse this. But I tell you, as long as the state houses of assembly don't have that independence, don't have that pride of their office as it is now, and as long as the state judiciaries are controlled by the government, you control them not directly. If you refuse to pay them the allowances, refuse to pay them salaries, refuse to give the budgetary allocations, of course you control them. You intimidate them. That is why the federal judiciaries are better. And that's why the governors have been able to continue to manipulate them. It will not help us. It won't help you. Those of you who are young, okay. But for those of us who are old, if you don't do the correction now, you suffer for it. Thank you.
Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Yunus Ustaz Usman, thank you very much. You joined us from Kaduna Zonal Center. We appreciate your insight on the program this morning. And we also like to appreciate Professor Alexander Shenge, Professor of Industrial and Organizational Consumer Psychology, that's Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Ibadan. Also in the Ibadan studio, Professor Remi Ayinde, Political Scientist, of course, with the University of Ibadan. Thank you very much, gentlemen. You joined us from the Ibadan Center. But just quickly, the guests here.
All right, so let's, okay, we don't have the time. We would have gotten your closing thoughts. Let's get your closing thought for 1 minute. Dr. Chris Akomas, just 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Let me say that I appreciate the contributions of our, people, especially the learned Sikh, and then the professors from my alma mater. The only thing that we, for now, given the circumstances, that we ask for is that that issue of statesmanship be brought to bear on the situation now in Kogi, and going forward, that we all work together and looking at that general and public good. That's the only way to remedy the situation. That's the only way to correct these things, and then we can move forward. The forum is going to reach out to the governor and the government of Kogi State, so that if there is need, maybe where they need assurances for our associate member to walk through the remaining 5 months, they can do that, so that peace will reign. We want things to be done and done properly, and I pray that God will give us that opportunity to have this done.
All right, Honorable Abdullahi, let's get your thoughts, your closing thoughts.
Thank you very much. And let me show gratitude to my brother here and our learned Sikh from Kaduna and the two professors. I think we have heaped the entire problem on the shoulders of governors. Yeah, it is true, but not in all cases. For the issue discussed now is Kogi State. Kogi State has been managed until recently, when the deputy governor came on air to make statement. This crisis just did not start just 1 week, 1 month, 2 months ago. They have had this misunderstanding for more than 1 or 2 years now, and the governor has restrained the state assemblies from going against the deputy governor. Because when this matter came up, I challenged the Speaker of the House. And he told me that the governor has stopped it from doing anything against this deputy governor for more than 1.5 years. So when the deputy governor now came on there and made statement that is ridiculed the state, the speaker didn't wait for the governor again. He had to go on his own to do his legislative performance. So my own take is that, as my elder here has rightly pointed out, yes, political solutions can be pursued so that there will be harmony, peace towards election in Kogi State.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Bello Alhaji Abdullahi, former Speaker of the Kogi State House of Assembly. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Also, so a very big thank you to a regular on the program, Dr. Chris Akomas, is the former Deputy Governor, Abia State, and National Publicity Secretary, Forum of Deputy Governors. Thank you for joining us on the discussion this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, now to our complimentary segments. Let's take a look at what's happening in the world of sports.